Hello again, YouTube. Sorry, it's been a little while, but it's time to get back into the swing of things. Time to start saving the Earth, one YouTube viewer at a time, and writing a better eternal future for all human souls. One of awareness, and empathy, and prosperity. So this is my talk for the evening. There are certain components of the perception of unity consciousness that many people discuss, which deserve more clarification than they often receive among spiritual communities that I observe. Primarily, it's important that people don't fantasize about unity consciousness as automatically all-encompassing, which might sound counterintuitive, but actually makes very coherent logical sense if you understand free will and the power of perception. If you're truly empathizing with a significant number of the conscious perceptions in reality, you will intuitively acknowledge that not all others perceive themselves as unified, which is the focal point of the ongoing spiritual war for human destiny and really cannot be emphasized and consciously observed and discussed enough. Many people, probably most people in this world, perceive themselves as separate. And it's important that we really understand how that energetically plays out if we wish to offer a divine harmony and unity to them. Now, I have to discuss this because there's a very common misconception regarding the evolution of unity awareness, which has sort of been maliciously transcribed into the spiritual community. A lot of people touch upon the idea of unity consciousness, and then they try to use their perception of it as an excuse to validate destructive tendencies or the evil in the world, which isn't actually full awareness of how the spirit of unity works. A virus can be a part of your body, but a healthy body must protect itself from dying to that virus. Does your left hand say, because I am a part of this body, I should be able to cut off my right hand and steal its blood? That's not how it works. In able to have health in the universe, you have to take care of the universe. A lot of people want to perceive the pride that they're beyond the duality of good and evil, which is actually a major pitfall in all spiritual path work, which directly minimizes your ability. Oh, itchy nose. It directly minimizes your ability to protect the unified spiritual body of creation from harm. And evil is by nature non-consensual harm and theft. Evil is not a component of balance, as many are deceived to believe. Evil is by nature and definition imbalance and injustice. So unable to have balance, you have to maintain protective measures against non-consensual destructive harm. Now, most human evil is essentially ignorance and negligence and selfishness. However, there are profoundly evil ancient fallen spirits, demons, and fallen angels in this world united in the act of degrading and enslaving humanity. And they understand spiritual mechanics deeply, and they know that they can dominate people in separation, but they cannot dominate people in love and unity. So they don't want you to know how it works, because the culmination of archetypal selfish motivation is to enslave all other souls through degrading their awareness and willpower, which is a big part of why these sorts of deceptions and pitfalls surrounding the evolution of unity and love consciousness exist. Why they tempt people into inversions that unity validates evil or similarly inhibiting beliefs. And I always hesitate to drop the evil ghosts bomb all the time, even though I've been dropping the evil ghosts bomb for many years now. But it is very important that people who are capable of comprehending that comprehend it. It is not a subjective theory. It is not fiction. These are absolutely real spirits. I have met demons. I have met angels one-on-one. Many people are driven to madness or amnesia by the presence of particularly the vampiric evil spirits, which is a part of why a lot of people have a sort of intuitive fear of the very idea of evil spirits, even though you label them as sleep paralysis and then pretend that you're too intelligent to acknowledge them, ironically. But I'm not personally driven to madness when I'm in their presence. I can fight them directly because God built me for the purpose of healing and uplifting this world. And I have certain energy that I have to protect. And that doesn't mean that I'm perfect. And it does mean that you are free to judge my failures harshly if you wish, because I have not lived up to my responsibilities. That's true. I'm working on it. And I could significantly minimize the suffering of many people if I could better explain the spiritual visions that I have been given and the nature of God's love to people. I could minimize a lot of harm, but I have a hard time reaching people. And I shouldn't. And I mean, 6 years ago I would have never guessed the depth of the awakening that I would experience, or that I would be informed that I'm the reincarnation of some sort of prophet, and that I could have a very major say in the eternal evolution of this world if I simply speak with the power that God gave me. That would have sounded very clearly ridiculous and insane to me 6 years ago. So I can totally and completely empathize with that sounding clearly ridiculous and insane. But I am compelled to offer it just because it's true. That is canonical reality. But I don't want to just talk about me. That's just a tangent from the main topic. I just felt that I had to offer something, explain a little bit of my experiences very briefly, because it's important to understand that we are dealing with evils far beyond mere humans in the context of awakening or reviving unity consciousness in this world. And that doesn't mean that we should be afraid of or paranoid of them. That just means that we need to understand them as they are. As we have unity consciousness, we need to understand where they're coming from and what their nature is, what their motivations are. So, to be part of a higher unity, you have to understand separation, or the perception of separation, which could cause harm, either willfully or unconsciously, to innocent beings or the entire future. And in understanding separation, you can determine how to interact with separation consciousness in a healing and productive manner. And sometimes the most productive manner for dealing with separation consciousness is to separate from it, if it's going to be parasitic towards you. To say no means no. I do not consent to you harming me or my people. And that's somewhat obvious, but it's extremely important. Because like I said, a lot of people lose that when they want to perceive that unity is automatically all-encompassing and all-forgiving and therefore validates evil. They lose their ability to protect the greater good, the health of the unified field. Now, as I mentioned, the culmination of separation is selfishness, which in all realities that selfishness dominates, it turns the timeline into a giant arena to fight for perceived power, often while most participants fail to really comprehend the repercussions of their actions on the universal body, or the earth, or individual innocent people. And that's a lot of the nature of this world right now. This world and many human souls have been contorted by totally unnecessary evil for a very long time, to the point that it's very difficult for many people to comprehend unity and empathy. And empathizing with those people, of course, doesn't mean necessarily condemning them. It means understanding why it's not easy for them, And it means, hopefully, that you want to try to figure out how to make beauty and love and inspiration and spiritual unity a little bit more accessible to them. Well, hopefully not sounding super cheesy about it. I think that's where a lot of the like starseed and you know, indigo child community type people lose people as they start to sound very cheesy and very corny, in spite of how utterly serious it is. Anyways, in the further context of empathy, one phenomena which a lot of people who are naturally empathic have likely noticed when interacting with people who are operating from a more individualistic consciousness is that sometimes our empathy seems to ironically separate us from them, because it's something that if they don't intuitively understand, and so they would empathize more with someone operating from a likewise separation-based mentality. And in those situations, a lot of times that means that we just end up hiding our empathy because we don't want to throw others off balance. But frankly, sometimes people's balance isn't perfect balance, and it could benefit from being wobbled a bit to help them think about something new and maybe find a better balance. And I just wanted to mention that because it can be important to be consciously aware of how that energy plays out, because I think a lot of good people might not necessarily know how to reconcile the perceived separation of heightened unity without having it observed or explained by someone who understands them. And that touches on the statement that I opened with, that unity consciousness is not necessarily automatically all-encompassing, because it doesn't override the free will of our perception, which is why all spiritual warfare, which is the heart of all warfare for fate, revolves around directing human attention. If people spend more time thinking about unity, love, empathy, beauty, harmony, sustainability, art, wisdom, and knowledge, if they spend more time on that than they do absorbing the fear and division that's consciously and constantly maliciously fed to everyone for the purpose of inhibiting the evolution of love and unity, there will be obvious tangible benefits to fate. Anyways, that's all I really wanted to address in this one, because I see this general misunderstanding playing out far more often than I feel like I should. To approach unity, we must comprehend disharmony, separation, parasitism, and how and why these spiritual alpha predators naturally hope to destroy unity and perpetuate a predator-prey paradigm for the duration of the future, where they can most easily exploit and deceive others. Universal consciousness is a lot more about feeling energy and recognizing beneficial or destructive responses to energy than it is about validating our behaviors. It's about intuitively distinguishing between someone who might benefit from truth or someone who might benefit more from love. And a lot of times love is far more beneficial. We can inspire people to act from universal empathy by example, even if they don't rationalize it. Though rationalizing it does help. In a practical sense, that might be the difference between trying to explain to a child or to a fool why, maybe the government probably shouldn't have the right to decide what proteins our RNA produces under threat of being cut out of society. In contrast to just sharing good music or a compelling book with them, and saving the more complicated moral dilemmas for people who want to discuss them. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and cut myself off before I start looping, before my glasses slip off my nose too many more times. Because this general topic is more or less what I perceive to be one of the most important topics in creation, as far as the evolution of fate and consciousness and freedom moving into the future are concerned. So I kind of just have been saying this same thing over and over for a long time and pretending that it's somehow going to reach more people this time. I mean, honestly, this premise is probably like at least 1/5 of all of the videos on my page, just in different words. I just keep saying it over and over. Like, hey, everybody, ascension is not about binding, or is not about blinding yourself to evil and allowing evil to steal your future. That's actually the opposite of ascension. That is delusional pride, and you actually need to refine your sense of right and wrong and not ignore it because it's complicated. Like, hey, everybody needs to understand this and able to protect the very core motivational essence of your souls from very serious parasitic spiritual threats, which are fighting for dominion over the future of humanity from by limiting how you think and how you think you're allowed to talk and what you think of as moral, by feeding you false moral dilemmas, false moral imperatives, and false saviors. Those are the inevitable tools of deception, or false enemies, false divisions, false saviors. So when you believe that something is a moral imperative, then you hate anybody who doesn't agree with you, and that makes you lower your defenses to your true enemies who are deceiving you. It's a playbook. It's a long old script that they've been running. But as I'm writing this, I know that I've said all of this 100 times already, and it's probably going to be the same this time. It's not going to reach the people who truly need it, and I'm going to be preaching to the choir who've already heard me say this. And I do appreciate that you are here listening, and that you understand the gravity of what we are dealing with here as far as influencing collective human awareness and the fate of reality are concerned. You wouldn't have found me if you didn't understand how important this is. So thank you for being here. And I want to get better at alchemizing what people need with what they want. So if you have any topics at all that you feel are important or wish to discuss or seek clarity on, please leave a comment so that I can think about what sort of adjustments I need to make to be of better service to you and the collective future. What's going on in this world right now is the biggest shift that has ever occurred in Earth's history. Similar events have occurred in the past, but I think that this is the best chance of a successful transmutation by far that we've ever had. And of course it sounds like a damn video game, but it's bigger than any comic book or any movie because it's real. There's a reason the control mechanisms of this world are striving dramatically to sow chaos and discord around the world among many people, and it's because they're afraid of losing control. They're afraid of humanity building a world where parasites can never ever win. Because that would be natural. It would be perfectly natural to design a world where we share in the bounty and prosperity and opportunity of the world, and nobody can be a massive parasite. Nobody can be the fattest rat in the rat race and eat all the other rats. That's an absurdity. The only reason that this world has developed in this way is because the game has been rigged, and we all know it. We all see these financial perversions that prevent us from participating in the same mechanisms of wealth generation that the parasites are participating in, as they minimize our rights and tell us that we are not allowed. They write false laws around us that they don't have to participate in. It's profoundly profane. Anyways, I really need to get a sort of live stream of consciousness going with more people at some point. People who are involved in this, who are talking about this. I see so many people who I'd love to just talk to about this, but I don't know, my heart is heavy. I've been, I don't know, I need to reach out more. I need to start reaching out more. So because I know too much to be invisible in the consciousness of humanity. Like, this stuff is important. We need this solid foundation of awareness here. So if you want to talk to me, go ahead and let me know. Leave a comment, and I'm going to think about trying to get a little live stream of some sort set up pretty soon. Anyways, thanks for sticking around.